Now, he said the interesting thing was I took the list from the seminar, I folded it up, took it home, and hid it. I didn't even look at it again. 2 weeks later, I moved to a new house. And when I was unpacking, I found the list. And I opened the list. And he said, I had to sit down to read it. He said, 11 of the 18 goals had been achieved in 5.5 months. One was to get a better job, which I had. One was to earn more money. I'm making more than I ever made. One was to get a new car. The new car came with the job. One was to get a new house. I just moved into the house because I could afford it. One was to lose weight. One was to take a trip. One was to learn a subject. One was to fix a relationship. But he said these were life goals, and I'd accomplished 11, and I'd almost accomplished 4 more. He said in less than 6 months. And I lost the list. See, the interesting thing is when you write down the goals, writing a goal down actually programs it into your subconscious mind. So even if your conscious mind doesn't even remember the list, your subconscious mind's got it now, and it works 24 hours a day to bring it into your life. Please trust me on this. It's life transforming. And I've spoken all over the world and given this exercise. I've never had anybody say it didn't work. The only things they say are, it was incredible. The results on their lives were explosive. They could not believe it. So will you give it a try? Say yes. Yes. Okay, I'm trusting you. I'm coming over to your house tonight. You know, I'm going to wake up. You're going to hear that banging on the door. Bang, bang, bang. Show me the list. No list? We'll have to have a talk. Okay, so goal orientation. Now, the third orientation is excellence orientation. In order to achieve something you have never achieved before, you have to be good at something you've never been good at before. You have to develop skills you've never had before. So remember, your job, and I've got some good news and more good news. When you come into this room, you are automatically in the top 10% of people in our society. You're in the top 10% of adults, and I'll tell you why. Only 10% of people ever come to a seminar like this. Now, the 10% of people who come to a seminar like this are automatically optimists. Nobody came here hoping this would be a bad seminar. If you did, I'll talk to you later. You're future-oriented because you came here to learn something that will help you to be better in the future. Even if you didn't define it that way, nonetheless, in your own heart, you were future-oriented. And that's all that matters. You're goal-oriented because you came here. You had to pay for this seminar. You had to turn off the television. You had to make your way down here, find a parking space, get in here. You're goal-oriented. You're aiming for a target, which means that you're already not in just the top 10%, probably in the top 3% of our population in terms of the future. Now remember, here's one of the great rules for success. It doesn't matter where you're coming from. All that really matters is where you're going. It doesn't matter where you're coming from. All that matters is where you're going. Now your job is, now that you're in the top 10% mentally, and you've got to get there mentally before you get there financially, once you're there mentally, your job is to stay there. Now, this idea of being in the top 10% is a major idea, and let me explain it. When I was growing up, I never thought I could be in the top 10% of anything. I failed in school. I did poorly in school. I got fired from jobs. Try getting fired. I used to pump gas in a gas station. I got fired from that because I wasn't good enough. I got fired from washing dishes. Try getting fired from washing dishes. It doesn't do your self-esteem very much good. I've gotten fired from more jobs than you've had. I mean, it never dawned on me that I could be good at anything. And then I learned something that changed my life. I learned that everybody in the top 10% started where? In the bottom 10%. Everybody who's at the top and doing well was once at the bottom and doing poorly. Everybody who's at the front of the buffet line of life was once at the back of the line. Everybody who's at the top of your field was once not in your field at all. And anything that anyone else has done, you can do as well. It's almost like walking. If I said to you, I will pay you $1,000,000 Singapore dollars if you will walk from here to KL. Physically walk. Now, it doesn't matter how long you take. You can run if you want. But if you will just walk, you cannot take a ride, you have to walk. Now, if I told you, and you believe me, and the $1,000,000 was there, you double-checked, all right? And you get $1,000,000 from walking from here to downtown KL. Is there anybody here who could not do that? Okay. Okay. So we could all do it. Is that correct? Now, is there anybody here who is a runner, a jogger, really fit? Okay? Nobody. Okay. Either that or your arm is too tired from jogging too much. All right. But the point is that some people who are really fit will get there quickly. Boom, 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 boom. They'll do 25, 35 miles a day, okay? Some people who are not very fit will do 5 or 10 miles a day. Doesn't really matter. Everybody who keeps walking will get there. Are you with me so far? This is an important metaphor. Everybody who keeps walking toward the top 10% gets there. If you keep learning and practicing and trying and reading and listening to audio programs and get associated with other people, if you just keep putting one foot in front of the other, you will get to KL. You will achieve that level of financial income. There's nothing that can stop you except who? Only you can stop you by stopping. And so therefore you find that people who have no advantages at all, but have one, is they just don't stop. They can be a complete idiot. They can have every disadvantage. They can have limited education. They could come from a terrible country with no opportunities. They could have no family and be survivors of a terrible experience, but they just put one foot in front of the other. They get to the front of the line. They get to KL. They get to the top 10%. You can be in the top 10%. So this is what I learned, which changed my life when I was 24 years old and living and passing through Singapore, is that if you make a decision to get into the top 10% and you don't take it back, you will get there. If you'll just do what others have done, you will get there. And it may take a week, it may take a month. Do you know how long it takes to achieve mastery in any profession, including selling? It takes 7 years. Now, many people think, well, I'm going to start in selling, and if I'm not at the top of the field within a month, I'll quit. But it takes 7 years to reach the point where you're in the top 10%. Some people may do it faster, but very seldom. I used to think, hey, I'll do it faster. It took 7 years. It took year after year of working. Now, that doesn't mean that you're broke for 6 years and 11 months and suddenly you make a lot of money. It's a gradual uphill. But the fact is, to get to the point where you're making the kind of money that you're capable of, it will take 7 years. But the time is going to pass anyway. So you might as well be there at the end of the 7 years. Do you know how many people are still here at the end of 7 years? They haven't made any progress because they never put in the extra effort. They never made the decision. They never went for it. So to make a decision, I'm going to be in the top 10%. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there. I'm going to pay the price. I'm going to read the books. I'm going to leave the television off. I'm going to start a little earlier. I'm going to work a little harder. I'm going to stay a little later. I'm going to get better. I am going to get into the top 10%. And you know what? There's nothing to stop you from getting to the top 10%. The only reason people don't get into the top 10% is why? They don't decide to. And if they decide to, they don't get started. And if they get started, they quit. All right? So it's very important. But optimists say, hey, I can be in the top 10%. I can be. And they just never quit. They just keep on going. No matter how much criticism they get, no matter how many problems they have, get fired from their jobs, they have setbacks and difficulties, you just keep walking to KL. Just keep going. They just keep going. And they get there and people say, boy, you're sure lucky. No, you weren't. You make your own luck. You make your own luck by deciding where you're going and getting on the road. Now, I'm going to give you one of the key secrets to success for the rest of your life and share it with other people when they need it. It's one of the great secrets. In our world, in Singapore, we get paid for results. We get paid for getting the job done. Isn't that true? We don't get paid because we're handsome or pretty. Thank heavens. Thank heavens for all of us, right? We get paid because we get a result, because we perform, because we do the job. We do what is expected of us. We contribute value, okay? So, the only way we're going to get to the top 10% is by becoming very good at what we do. There's no shortcuts. We just have to get down and work at it. So, I'm going to ask you to do this. Ask yourself this question. What one skill in your field now, if you were excellent at it, would help you the most? You see, there's 5 to 7 core skills in every job. And it is our top skills that have got us to where we are, but it's our weakest skill that's holding us back. Your weakest skill sets the height of your income. Your weakest skill determines how much money you make. So if there's 7 key skills in selling, which there are, and you're brilliant at 6 of them, but weak at the 7th, that sets your income. So ask yourself, what one skill? This is really important. What one skill? And If you don't know the answer, you must find out. Ask your boss. Boss, what one skill, if I was really good at it, would increase my income the most? Ask your coworkers. Ask your customers. I did that once when I was living in Singapore. I asked one of my customers, what one skill would help me the most? And he told me, if you would stop talking so much and ask questions and listen more, you'd be far more. Well, I talk. Salespeople talk too much because we're nervous. We're nervous, so we overcome our nervousness by talking too much. Talk, 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 talk. Men especially. Men are worse at this than anyone else. So, and the reason we're in selling is because we get along well with other people. We're more sociable than other people. So we'll talk, 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 talk. Anyway, so he said, instead of talking so much, ask more questions and listen, and you'll be more effective. And I did, and he was right. And that helped me an enormous amount. So ask people, what one skill, what one change in what I'm doing would help me more than anything else? And they'll tell you, if you were a superb prospector, if you were so good at prospecting that people were literally coming in the windows with their checks trying to buy from you, if they were lined up in the corridor when you got to work in the morning with their checks saying, me first, if you were such a good prospector that when you phoned, they said, thank heaven you phoned, can I send a car for you? If you were such a good prospector, would that double your income? Say yes. Okay, then set that as a goal. I'm going to be superb at prospecting. And then the only question you ask once you've set it as a goal is what? How? How do I become so good at prospecting that I have so many prospects I don't have time to see them all? That becomes your question, right? For the rest of your life, from now on, say, what one skill would help me the most? And it's always the skill where you're the weakest. And then you set it as a goal, and you make a plan, and you work on it every day until you bring that skill up. Now, you may not like it to start off with, and you may not be very comfortable with it, and you may not like prospecting or closing or something else. Well, boo-hoo for you, okay? Get over it and get on with learning how to do it well, right? If you're going to be in this business, you're going to have to master the key skills in this business, right? So don't give yourself excuses. Well, I'm not very good at prospecting. Well, shut up. Who cares what you're good at? The fact is that all business skills are learnable. Okay, say it. All business skills are learnable. If anybody else can learn to be good at prospecting, so can you. The fact that they're good at it is proof that you can be good at it as well. And if you double the number of good prospects you have, what will happen to your sales? They will double. And what will happen to your income? It will double. So let's figure out how to do it. All the optimist says is, how do I do it? What's the way? How do we do it? I know it's possible. Because they're an optimist. You have an unrealistic expectation of success. Sometimes people think that you're smoking something on the side, because you're so positive all the time. But the fact is, anything anyone else has done, you can do. Nobody's better than you. Nobody's smarter than you. Everybody's at the top of their field that once was an idiot. Sometimes those people were at the bottom and people made fun of them and they had no success and they had nothing. Now they're up there and everybody says, ooh, ooh, ooh. Oh. Believe me, anything that anyone else has done, you can do as well. Just make a decision what it is. Be absolutely clear. And then set your future, your ideal. Set the goal to achieve the ideal. Determine the skill that you'll need. Now here's the fourth orientation. And this is really important. It's called growth orientation. Now growth orientation is the key to the future. Lee Kuan Yew said that years ago, is that we have to have the smartest and best educated populace in the world, which Singapore just about damn near does. All right? Because this is a city-state built on brains, and our people have to be smart. We have to be connected to the internet. We have to be fluent in English. We have to be able to deal in the world market. This is brain power. So this whole country has been built on learning. And the key to your success is learning as well. Now, I was asked recently, what are the keys to continuous learning? What is the key to continuous growth? And I said that there's three things. Number one is read on a regular basis. Reading is to the mind as exercise is to the body. If you don't read, it's like if you don't exercise your muscles, what happens to them? What happens to your muscles if you don't use them? Yeah, they atrophy. They become weak. They become useless. But if you use them, then they're strong and they work for you. They're available to you at all times. It's the same as reading. When you read, it takes total concentration. It activates more brain cells. It works out that muscles. It even amazes your mother-in-law. But you can actually become smarter. Just like you can build muscles by working out, you can actually build brains by reading on a regular basis. So the rule is read 30 to 60 minutes in selling each day, 5 days a week. If you do that, you'll read about a book a week. That'll translate into about 50 books a year. 50 books a year will make you one of the smartest and highest paid people in sales in your field. You'll go past everybody else in the business. I have been giving this advice since I learned it myself, and I've had people come back to me and say that it just was transforming. It was like waving a magic wand. People who were going in circles and frustrated and broke and living on the floor of their friends' homes and had no money began to read an hour a day. And their sales just took off like a flower blooming in the summertime. So, or in any weather. So, read on a regular basis. Now, the second is to attend all the seminars that you can. Be hungry for seminars. Be hungry for learning experiences. Let me ask you, what is the most precious thing that you have in the whole world? Time. It's your time, because your time is your life. So therefore, when you learn something that can help you jump ahead, you save life. You achieve the same goal in a couple of years that somebody else may take 5 or 10 years to achieve. So always trade money for time or life. And if it costs you a little bit to go to a seminar, pay the money, because you'll get it back 10, 20, 50, 100 times in not only increased income, but also in the years that you'll save to get to the same point. I've never met anybody who's gotten ahead who has done it just by standing there and waiting for it to happen. They've become very aggressive about learning. All of the highest paid people in sales are very aggressive about continuing to learn, as you are. So therefore, attend every seminar you can. Keep an eye open. Listen for them. Watch for them. And go to them. Because the return on your investment is 10, 20, 30, 50 times whatever the cost of the seminar is. Now, by the way, my friends here at Success Resources bring in and do the best seminars in the world. This is not a paid advertisement, but they bring in the best speakers and they organize the best seminars in the business. And so, right? Okay. The third thing is to listen to audio programs as you move around. Listen to audio programs on a regular basis. I was here, and my friend may be here, but I was here speaking a few years ago, and a friend of mine came to this seminar. He's a friend now, and he was broke. He was at the bottom of his business. He had started in sales. He had made no sales. He had no money. He was living with his wife in a bedroom in his mother's apartment, and he was at the bottom. He came to this seminar, and I offered a package of audio programs, 6 audio programs. He had no money. But he went home at lunchtime, and he went to his mother-in-law, and he asked her if he could borrow the money. And his mother-in-law loaned him the money. And he came back to the seminar, and he got the audio programs before they sold out, which they always do. 1 year later, he was at the top of his field. 2 years later, he was at the top of his business. 3 years later, he was the youngest person in the world inducted into the $1 Million Roundtable, the top insurance salespeople in the world. He said it totally transformed his life, increased his income 25 times. He said because of audio listening. Now, I'm not trying to influence you in any way. But growth orientation is really critical. It's important. You see, if I were to say to you, here is some stock for a company, would you like to buy some of this stock? Okay? It's a good company. And you looked at it, and you looked at all the material, and you said, no, I don't want to buy any of that stock. What would you be telling me? Well, you'd be telling me that you didn't think that was a good investment, right? People who don't invest in themselves are saying a very, very bad thing. They're saying, I don't think that this is a good person to invest in. This company has no future. This person has no future. The interesting thing is that the more you invest in yourself, the more you believe in yourself, the more you like yourself, the more determined you become, the more confident you become, the better you get. The more you invest in yourself, the more it transforms you. People who don't invest in themselves, surprisingly enough, don't think that they're worth spending any money on. And you know what? Turns out to be true. Because your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. So remember, time is your most precious resource, and your most valuable asset is your earning ability. Your ability to earn money is the most important single factor you have. Your ability to apply your mind to earning money. And the person who earns 100,000 Singaporean and a person who earns 200,000 Singaporean, there's no difference in intelligence. No difference in basic ability. It's just a difference in earning ability. Is one has upgraded their skills and knowledge so they earn at this level, the other has not. And if you have a choice of 100,000 or 200,000 or 50,000 and 100,000, which should you choose? Take the bigger one, okay? And you have the choice. You just say, okay, I'll take the 100. You take the 50, I'll take the 100. Take the 100, okay? Take the 200. And the key is future orientation, goal orientation, excellence orientation, and growth orientation, right?